Everybody has one. The moment you'd give anything to take back. The time you caved when it counted. The thing you swore you never do and then did. And here's the cruel part. Knowing you're forgiven doesn't always stop the replay. You can lie awake at 2 a.m. running the tape again and again because the failure told you something about yourself you can't unknow. If you've ever been sure you disqualified yourself, that whatever God had for you, you forfeited it in one cowardly moment, I want to walk you through a story. The Bible has a man who failed worse than most of us ever will. Not a small slip, a public, cursing, out loud betrayal of the person he loved most on the worst night of that person's life. His name was Peter. And what Jesus does with him is so far outside how any of us would handle it that people have never gotten over it. Now, let's read it. You have to understand who Peter was because it changes everything. He was the loud one, first to speak, first to jump. When Jesus called him, he walked away from his whole livelihood. When Jesus was arrested, Peter drew a sword and took a swing. He was ready to die that night. So when he makes his promise, hear that he meant it. At the Last Supper, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. And when Jesus says, they'll all desert him, Peter refuses it. Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. He isn't lying. He'd have told you he'd rather die than deny Jesus. And part of him would have, which is what makes what's coming so devastating. Peter didn't fail because he didn't care. He failed at the one thing he was most sure of. Have you ever been blindsided by your own weaknesses, right where you thought you were the strongest? You already understand Peter. Here's something almost nobody notices, and it's one of the most tender things in the Bible. Before Peter fails, before the courtyard, before the rooster, Jesus already knows it's coming. And watch what he does with that. He doesn't cut Peter off. He says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat, but I prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Two things there should stop you cold. First, I have prayed for you. Before Peter denies him, Jesus is already praying him through it. And second, when you have turned back, not if, when. Jesus is already talking about the far side of the failure. The comeback's already planned, with a job waiting. So let that reframe what you carry. If you belong to Jesus, he isn't watching your 2 a.m. replay in horror, deciding whether he's done with you. He saw it coming and was praying you to the other side before you ever got there. So right after you commit that sin that you thought you'd never do, just know Jesus is waiting there for you to come back. So how does a man who meant every word deny he ever knew Jesus? The Bible shows you, step by step, and it's uncomfortably familiar. Jesus is arrested. Everyone scatters. But Peter follows, at a distance, into the high priest's courtyard, the exact place he should have run from. It's cold, there's a fire, and Peter stands in its light to keep warm. Remember that. Fire. It comes back. Then it starts, not with soldiers, with a servant girl. She asks him, basically, aren't you one of his disciples too? Peter says, I am not. Small, reflexive, then a second time sharper. Then a third. Someone points out in so many words that his accent gives him away. He's a Galilean. And the cornered man comes out. Then he begins to call down curses, and he swore to them, I don't know the man. I don't know the man? Hours after I'll die for you? Notice how it escalated. A shrug, a denial, then curses. Nobody plans the big betrayal. You take the small exit in front of you, then a bigger one to cover it. And by the third, you don't even recognize your own voice. And then the hardest line in the Gospels. Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. And Luke adds what no one else does. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Jesus arrested, beaten, being led away, turns his head across the courtyard and looks at the man swearing right then that he never knew him. We're not told what was in that look, but everything Jesus does next says it wasn't fury. It was the same face that had just said, I have prayed for you. And it breaks Peter completely. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Here's what the Gospels do that's quietly merciful, though it doesn't feel like it. They leave Peter there, between the denial and what comes next. There's a gap. Jesus is arrested, crucified, and buried. And somewhere in the city is Peter, carrying the fact that the last thing Jesus may have heard from him was a cursing denial, and now Jesus is dead. You don't get to apologize to someone in a tomb. This is where a lot of you actually live, not in the failure, but in the afterward, where it's done and can't be undone. That Saturday, Peter doesn't know Sunday is coming. From inside that day, there is no Sunday. Just what he did, and no way back. If that's the day you're in right now, hold on. Watch what the morning brings. Sunday morning, the tomb is empty, and a messenger has news. And in Mark's account, it carries 2 words I'd frame and hang on a wall. But go, tell his disciples, and Peter, he's going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. Tell his disciples and Peter. Why name him separately? He was one of the disciples. It's unnecessary, unless the whole point is Peter, unless heaven knew he was sitting in the dark, certain he'd been cut from the list. So the first resurrection message is built to make the man who denied him hear his own name. You especially. You're still on the list. Come, look who the risen Christ names first. Not the ones who stayed closest to the cross, but the ones who failed the worst. That, and Peter, is the whole gospel in 2 words. But it's the reunion where Jesus does something so deliberate, it takes your breath away. Some of the disciples, Peter included, have gone back to fishing. They're out at dawn. A figure calls from the shore, and it's Jesus. When they land, they find a fire, burning coals. There were fish on it, and some bread. He's cooking breakfast. Come and have breakfast. Now, that phrase, a fire of burning coals, in the original language, it isn't an accident. The Greek word John uses for that charcoal is anthrakia, and in the entire New Testament, it appears exactly twice. Once here, on this beach, and once before, the fire in the courtyard, where Peter warmed his hands and denied he knew Jesus. 2 fires, the only 2 of their kind in the New Testament. One where Peter failed, one where Jesus restored him. He didn't just happen to be cooking. He rebuilt the exact scene, the smell of the coals, the heat on your face in the cold. So Peter would be standing right back where he fell, not to rub his nose in it, to heal it at the very spot it happened. That's how Jesus handles our failures. He doesn't root around them. He walks us back and redeems the ground itself. And then, by that fire, Jesus asks Peter a question. Then the same question again. Then a 3rd time. Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Feed my lambs. Again, do you love me? Take care of my sheep. And a 3rd time. And Peter was hurt, he asked a 3rd time, because a 3rd time lands on a wound. 3 denials, now 3 questions. Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Then Jesus says, feed my sheep. 3 denials by a charcoal fire. 3 I love yous by a charcoal fire. Jesus isn't being repetitive. He's unwriting the denial, 1 syllable at a time. Letting Peter say I love you, once for every I don't know him, and he never makes him grovel. No, how could you? No, bringing up the curses. Just 3 questions about love, and then a job. Every time Peter answers, Jesus hands him work. Feed my lambs. Take care of my sheep. Feed my sheep. He doesn't forgive Peter and send him home benched. He reinstates him, handing the man who failed the most important assignment in the early church. Restoration isn't you're not fired, it's you're commissioned. There are 2 things I do not want to skip, because cheap grace helps no one who's actually hurting. First, restoration is not the erasing of consequences. In the very next breath, after reinstating him, Jesus tells Peter how his life will end. When you are old, you will stretch out your hands and be led where you do not want to go. John tells us plainly what that meant. It pointed to the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Forgiveness is free, it is not cheap. Being forgiven by God may not instantly repair the marriage you damaged or the trust you broke. Grace doesn't rewind the tape. It does something better. It redeems what comes next. Second, this isn't a promise that just feeling bad is enough. That same night, another man failed catastrophically. Judas. He felt terrible too. The difference wasn't the size of the sin. Denying Christ with curses is not somehow smaller. The difference was direction. One man's grief drove him back towards Jesus. The others drove him away into the dark alone. So take this from Peter. What mattered wasn't that he failed. It's that when he failed, he turned around and went back. That door is still open for you. Now, look at what became of this man, Peter, the denier, who cursed and swore he never knew Jesus, becomes the leader of the early church. Weeks after that beach, he stands up in Jerusalem, preaches the first sermon of the Christian faith. And that day, about 3,000 were added to the number. The mouth that denied Christ 3 times brought 3,000 people to him in an afternoon. And Peter isn't the exception. This is God's pattern. David committed adultery and had a man killed to cover it. And out of the wreckage wrote, "My sacrifice, O God, is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. You, God, will not despise." Paul started out hunting Christians, a blasphemer and a persecutor and a violent man, and said God saved him as an exhibit. Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the worst. God doesn't build his kingdom out of people who never fell. There's a line in Isaiah about the coming Messiah. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. A cracked reed he won't snap, a candle guttering to smoke he won't pinch out. He cups his hand around it. If you feel bruised and barely lit, that's not the resume that disqualifies you. In God's economy, it may be the one that qualifies you. One more detail on that beach. The book end that finishes it. After the 3 questions, Jesus says 2 more words to Peter, and they're not new. They're the exact words he said the first day on the shore when he called a fisherman off his nets. Follow me. The same 2 words as day 1, as if the denial never happened. Not a lesser, damaged goods version of the life he first offered. The original call, brand new from the beginning. So if you came sure you disqualified yourself, too deliberate, too repeated, too recent, hear the shape of this. Jesus prayed for Peter before he fell, named him first when he rose, rebuilt the scene of the failure just to heal it, traded 3 denials for 3 I love yous, and never made him grovel, handed the man who failed the keys, and said the same 2 words as day 1, follow me. None of it because Peter earned his way back. He couldn't. That's the point. It's because of who Jesus is, and he hasn't changed. So here's what I'll ask. If this reached something tender, if you're in your own Saturday, sure it's over, leave 1 word in the comments following. Not I've got it together, not I never fell, just still following, still turning back from someone who failed. And that's the bravest word in the story. And it's the only one that ever was required. And if you want the Bible walkthrough honestly like this, no shame, no hype, no cheap answers, subscribe to Berean. We're here every week for the questions and for the long Saturdays before the morning comes. Thank you.